So I want to talk about two concepts in the book that I think are easier said than read. And that is the idea of paralinguistics generally and vocal non-fluencies specifically. So what are we talking about when we talk about these two concepts? Well, paralinguistics are all of the things that surround a verbal or a spoken message. And I say verbal or spoken because I think that non-verbal vocal utterances like ugh, which is what I've been doing a lot today because for some reason the animals in the house have decided that every time I get through the video that they need to make a lot of noise. So I've recorded this video several times. And so I have done a lot of nonverbal vocal utterances. And you can tell by my tone that they are frustrated. So it's like, ugh, right? That is paralinguistic, right? Anything that surrounds that message and colors how we're perceived is going to be paralinguistic. Now, your book does a really good job, and I'm not going to go into every single element of the chapter to talk about tone, pitch, rate, volume, articulation. All of these things are things that you should know, and if you have questions, please reach out. But they are the elements of paralinguistics, and they come together to contribute to your vocal quality or your timbre. That's going to be how your voice sounds. And we associate certain perceptions with certain voices. For example, what you're hearing right now is kind of a modified version of my teacher voice. My teacher voice is much, much louder, and I'm having to moderate it a little because of the microphone in front of me. The microphone is very sensitive to certain kinds of sounds like T's and P's, so I'm swallowing those a little bit, articulating them a little bit less. And as a result, the sound is different. So I've kind of developed what I consider a video voice. My teacher voice is much louder. And a lot of times it's really funny because my family will say, you know, you can turn off the teacher voice now because I do have a definite vocal quality when I'm speaking like that. And think about it this way. What if I came into class on the first day and went, hi guys, like, so today we're going to talk about like communications and stuff. It's going to be really cool. You would probably have a little bit of maybe some doubts about my ability to teach the class. And that's because my paralinguistics wouldn't be supporting the perception that I want to communicate. And so I hope that makes some sense. And that is all goes into this whole section about paralinguistics. And I want you to make sure that you understand all of those elements and hope that that makes sense to you. And then again, reach out if it doesn't. All right. So that's paralinguistics in general. So let's talk about vocal non-fluencies specifically, because I think non-fluencies are those things that are really concerning to my students who are getting ready to do speeches, as most of you are. All right. So let's talk about non-fluencies. Non-fluencies are statements or sounds that we make, and usually they're made to do one of two things: to either maintain our turn or to reduce the overall impact or power of a specific statement. Most of you know these as ums, ahs, likes, and you knows. All right, those are by far the most common. I know I have a tendency to say all right or okay, and I have to be really careful because apparently for a while I was going okay, and there's a character in South Park with a puppet that apparently says that, and so I know I tried really hard to get those out of my statements, and I hate listening to these videos because I can hear occasionally those still creep into my language. Now, we often use non-fluencies as turn maintenance cues because we're used to being interrupted. So, for example, let's say I'm like, what was that movie? What I'm essentially saying is, don't interrupt me, I'm thinking, all right? And that's a very, very common use of those non-fluencies. The problem is we get into such the habit of doing it that when we get up in front of an audience and we're trying to encode or think of something, we will vocalize that even though there's no chance that we're going to be interrupted because we quote unquote have the floor. So those non-fluencies become more noticeable, especially to us. First of all, let me put this to rest right now. Some non-fluencies are actually important and they are required for the speech to sound natural. If you have zero ums or ahs in the whole thing, a lot of people see it as being distracting or as feeling fake or as feeling less credible. I'm taking a podcasting class right now, and my teacher actually says that we should only work to take out about half of the ums or ahs that we hear when we're editing a podcast, because so much of natural speech includes those ums or ahs or you knows. So I want you to kind of get away from the worry of having ums or ahs in your speech all the time. The only place is there is a point at which it becomes distracting. And most of the time I notice it becomes distracting is when somebody is unprepared to speak or they're very unsure of what they're going to be saying. And that is really where the ums and the ahs can be groomed out through practice. And I think that that's important as you grow as a speaker and as a communicator. Another reason to get rid of those ums or ahs is because it does reduce the power of your verbal message. For example, if I said, well, what if we thought about integrating this? It's going to reduce that power and confidence in the way people perceive you. If I say, I think we need to do this, that's going to come off as a whole lot more confident. So those non-fluencies can reduce how you are perceived in terms of confidence or in terms of credibility. So just be aware of that. Again, it can be trained out, but don't focus so much on those non-fluencies. Instead, focus on your message and saying something that's important. And usually, the ums and ahs will take care of themselves. All right, so hopefully you've got those two concepts. As always, ask me if you have questions. See you in the next video.